The tale kicks off deep within the illicit trade district beneath the metropolis of Qing, where our central character made the decision to barter away his kidney and cornea for a decent sum. The purchaser, however, hesitated, having known the seller had already parted with a kidney, spleen, gallbladder, both testicles, and a portion of his liver over the span of half a year, along with segments of both his small and large intestines. The buyer then assessed that Ian wouldn't survive more than 48 hours if he sacrificed another kidney. Still, Ian stood firm on his choice, insisting it was for his gravely ailing sibling. The buyer, wielding a blade, eventually gave in and said, "All right, since you've got guts, kid, I'll go through with it, no mercy." Ian responded, "Boss, I can handle the pain." As the procedure commenced, Ian howled in torment. Post-operation, he hobbled his way back home, aided by a walking stick, his eyes cloaked in wrappings. Once he ensured no one was tracking him, he peeled off the bandages and activated his self-healing powers. Clutching the cash he earned from selling his cornea and kidney, he affirmed it was finally enough, combined with his previous savings, to afford the class advancement ritual. He cackled as he walked, knowing the story about his sick sister was completely fabricated, and it amused him that someone bought the lie. His name is Ian, a soul from another world who found himself in a land teeming with spiritual forces, monsters, and mystical realms. An orphan by default, life here was brutal until he realized his extraordinary gift. His body could regenerate entirely, regardless of the severity of injuries, even regrowing lost limbs and organs. Exploiting this ability, he sold off his own organs, amassing 100,000 yuan to cover the exorbitant fee for the profession awakening ceremony, convinced that only by achieving this transformation could he thrive and safeguard those he treasured. Today marked the crucial moment of his job awakening. Upon arriving at the ritual site, he was confronted by a trio questioning his presence. Knowing Ian came from poverty, they couldn't fathom how he could pay for such an event. He grabbed the hand of Miss Wang and claimed, "To take part in the class ritual, I had to apply for a profession change loan," another lie to avoid suspicion. Miss Wang was stunned, while the two companions with her worried he'd spend his life repaying the loan if his profession turned out worthless. Thankfully, Miss Wang approved his participation and encouraged him to do his best, instructing him to enter the chamber before the ritual began. Soon, all participants assembled and were summoned one at a time. The first was Gao Dao from Class 5, and whispers rose among the students that he too came from a modest background. When Gao stepped onto the platform, the headmaster directed him to place his palm on the golden orb and completely relax. Within moments, the headmaster announced that Gao had awakened a supportive profession, an A-tier poultry handler. The crowd murmured that Gao would be stuck tending birds forever, though the headmaster tried to lift spirits by saying there are no useless professions, only those who fail to use them well. Next up was a captivating beauty in crimson attire and high boots, named Juganini, admired by all. Upon her arrival, the headmaster wished her luck. She thanked him and promptly touched the golden sphere. A flaming phoenix emerged, astonishing the headmaster, who announced she had become an SSS rank fire sorceress, bringing glory to Qing City Academy. The crowd, including Ian, was in awe, knowing such a class could command forces alone. The headmaster advised Juga they discuss a tailored training regimen later due to her exceptional class, and she then stepped down. Then came Yin's turn, and as he walked, he caught snippets of gossip about his supposed class advancement loan. He glanced at Juga, vowing inwardly he wouldn't be a side character in her story. He positioned himself, placed his hands on the orb, and held his breath. This was the pivotal point, the line between continuing a pitiful existence or breaking destiny's chains. As the magic activated, a majestic azure dragon materialized, and Ian was astonished, enveloped in a radiant glow. The students gasped, dumbfounded that someone with a fake loan had received such a rare class. Juga too was astonished, assuming Ian had landed another SSS-level role. The principal shared in the excitement, convinced it was another miracle case. Ian asked about his new role, and the principal declared he had obtained a combat-based profession, SSS Tier Forbidden Curse Master. Today, you shine for Qingqing Academy. Tomorrow, the Academy will take pride in you, he proclaimed, only to freeze midway as the realization sank in. Ian was a Forbidden Curse Master. The headmaster had thought it a remarkable class until he processed the implications. Students burst out laughing. Everyone knew that those with this class never survived beyond 25. The Forbidden Curse Master profession drained the user's life to unleash its power, and because its wielders died young, the class was dismissed as worthless. Disheartened, Juga turned away, visibly let down by Yin's unfortunate outcome. Ian slumped, listening to the jeers of his peers as they mocked him for wasting his life. The headmaster consoled him, saying he was a remarkable kid who simply drew a bad lot. Ian then asked if all curse masters really died before reaching 25, and the headmaster urged him not to lose hope, saying that it's better to blaze fiercely than to exist without meaning. "Thank you, headmaster. I also want to shine brilliantly and bring prestige to this academy," Ian answered. The headmaster informed him of a unique training regimen he'd undergo with Juga, and Ian agreed with a subtle grin, finding it amusing that people assumed he'd die young because of his class, when in fact, he possessed eternal regeneration. After the awakening event, everyone departed, and Ian, worn out, planned to head home for some well-earned rest. While walking, someone called his name. It was Juga, who offered to form a team with him, convinced that the more a forbidden curse master fought, the faster their life would burn out. She explained to Yilin that she had no ill intentions and only wished to lend a hand since they were fellow students, but Ian dismissed her offer entirely. She didn't insist and simply walked away, calling him a stubborn fool headed straight for doom. Yilin paid no mind to her remarks and kept moving forward, but then a pack of males stood in his path, accusing him of acting superior just because he had changed his class to a curse master. These individuals were his classmates, angered by the fact that Juga extended a team-up offer to Yilin and not to them. Yilin was irritated that Juga had dragged him into unnecessary trouble, frustrated that just a few words from Juga Shirao had stirred all this chaos. "Step aside, I'm going home," he said boldly. "Back to your 10-square-meter dump, Yilin. Now that you're SSS ranked, call me daddy and I'll land you a spot as a GC Corp guard," joked the guy in the white top. Another guy chuckled and added that working security at GC Corp was a privilege, then demanded Yilin bow before their leader Gilingu, boasting he'd start working at GC Corp the next day and suggesting he could buy incense for his deceased orphanage family with his salary. Gilingu, who led the gang, sneered as they forced Yilin to kneel, claiming curse masters should not live long and mocking him for being a parentless nobody. Boiling with anger, Yilin glared intensely at them, his eyes glowing as he channeled his curse energy, warning that they brought this upon themselves. The bullies panicked, terrified he'd unleash a forbidden curse. "Why wouldn't I? Don't bring up my late family," Yilin declared, then launched a spell at their position, not to harm them, but just to frighten them. The group recoiled in terror, begging him not to cast any curses. Yilin dared them to fight, but they all turned tail and ran. He powered down his curse spell and scoffed, "What a pathetic bunch." After they fled, Yilin continued on, feeling a burning pain in his duodenum, unaware that Juga had been watching and was displeased by how easily he was baited by insults and ready to risk his life so carelessly. In her mind, even a non-curse master who acted like Yilin would never get far. To her, Yilin wasn't worthy to stand beside her. Night fell, and Yilin finally arrived home. He dropped his bag on the sofa and sat down, opening his system interface. There, he read that sacrificing a piece of duodenum could summon a basic lightning strike, offering a bladder would call upon thunder from the drowned lands, and sacrificing a heart could trigger the devastating purple bolt of ruin. From this, he deduced that using the highest-tier divine thunder would likely kill him. Lying back on the couch, his head spun, but he recognized it as a side effect from his regeneration process. Meanwhile, Gilingu went to his father, begging for revenge, asking him to send someone to eliminate Yilin, but his father warned that taking out an SSS-level curse master was highly dangerous and wouldn't benefit them at all. He knew that someone who used deadly spells over petty insults was clearly unstable. Snuffing his cigarette in the tray, he told his son never to forget that Yilin came from poverty and advised him to exploit his enemy's weaknesses with intelligence. The following morning, Yilin reached Qingqing Academy early, still drowsy and yawning. Around him, students whispered about how he'd changed to the curse profession and even embarrassed Gilingu. Out of nowhere, someone tapped Yilin on the back with a bottle. It was Lingyu, holding milk. He had brought breakfast, and Yilin was confused by the gesture. Suspicious, he accepted the milk while wondering if it was poisoned, since Lingyu had lost to him, but Lingyu assured him he wouldn't dare to poison him, saying this was his way of showing gratitude. "Thank me? It's not like lightning really struck," Yilin said while drinking. Lingyu explained he was thankful because Yilin's blow felt like being hit by real lightning, waking him from his daze. He added that seeing Yilin made him realize how aimless his life had been. Dropping to his knees, he declared, "I want to call you Big Brother." Yilin was taken aback and asked if he'd been hit on the head. Lingyu insisted he was serious, saying the beating gave him deep introspection and that he needed a strong role model to grow. Yilin accepted but asked for compensation. Lingyu agreed instantly and requested his account number. As Yilin walked toward the training field, he gave it and said to wire 2 million as the first installment. Lingyu responded that the amount was fair and promised to have his father send the money right away. Around this time, a new secret realm for beginners opened at the training grounds, revealing there would be an assessment event. The principal expressed hope that all academy participants would do their best. Everyone wished for their school's triumph. Yilin and Juga stood at the front, prompting the elders near the principal to assume they were the academy's SSS-level job holders for the year, both of whom looked quite extraordinary. The principal was exasperated, muttering that he'd already told Yilin and Juga to keep a low profile, lamenting that these kids didn't understand subtlety. 2 students with SSS-tier professions at the same time? How irritating, truly maddening, he grumbled and chuckled, though no one joined in. Turning around, he asked the older men if they were mute. The trio walked away, claiming they had other matters to handle. In truth, they were simply fed up with the principal's arrogance. At that moment, the examiners were allowed into the field. Just before Yilin could enter, Juga stopped him again, requesting to join forces. Once more, Yilin turned her down, which led her to conclude that he was unbearably prideful. She informed Yelin that she would no longer interfere and let him meet his end, but Yelin didn't respond and stepped into the secret dimension right away. As he arrived, he realized he was completely by himself, assuming it was due to a randomized teleportation system. A level 1 spotted cat emerged, growling, yet Yelin felt no fear. Instead, he was thrilled, thinking this was an ideal opponent to unleash his forbidden incantation. He attacked swiftly and eliminated it effortlessly, earning 10 XP. However, he felt underwhelmed as the reward was too minor for his effort. He walked off, muttering that the energy cost wasn't worth it and that he'd have to defeat 100 of those feline beasts to make it to level 2, prompting him to seek a better plan. Simultaneously, Ian lured a horde of 100 creatures behind him, grinning as he figured this wave of beasts would offer significant experience. Some of these beings had humanoid upper bodies. Seeing them, he announced his intent to test a newly acquired forbidden technique. He cast his Catastrophic Surge spell, which immensely boosted his physical power, reflexes, and spiritual energy, and with the blazing rebirth active, he believed that even a level 10 foe couldn't handle his ultimate thunder annihilation. He charged at a few of them and struck decisively, but he noticed the spell made him age rapidly in mere minutes, deciding to limit his use of burning rebirth to just 1 minute unless he wanted to expose his immortal constitution. Continuing on, he activated his vitality-ignoring preservation spell, offering one of his arms and slamming the ground to unleash his apocalyptic rage forbidden incantation. He slayed a level 3 shadow wolf and earned 30 XP, then finished a level 5 double-headed serpent for 50 XP. Next, he dispatched a level 6 plated scorpion and a level 6 centaur, receiving 60 XP for each. He also eliminated a level 2 stinger bee and gained 20 XP. That was enough to push him to level 3. Pleased and impressed, he noted how fast he had advanced and also unlocked a new forbidden curse. Infernal blaze consumes the heavens. After an hour passed, Juga reached the scene where Ian had annihilated masses of creatures, and she was astonished by the sight of so many burnt corpses reduced to soot. In disbelief, she tried to comprehend what had occurred, then spotted traces of hellfire magic. She investigated and was baffled, knowing she was the only fire element user in Qingqing. Yet such intense heat fluctuations proved otherwise. She discovered a clue suggesting that this devastation had a human origin. Looks like Qingqing harbors hidden elites. I'll definitely uncover who you are, she vowed. Meanwhile, not far away, Yilin was relaxing, grilling meat. He was enjoying a meal of three-eyed fiend hog, eating heartily as his body had consumed too much energy during battle. Once he finished, he decided to venture further and continue monster hunting. Just as he was preparing to leave, Juga showed up and called his name. "Ian, what brings you here?" she asked. Ian was irritated by the encounter, finding it troublesome, since he didn't want anyone discovering his secret. He forced a grin and said he was simply roasting some food. She warned him again that the forbidden spellcaster class wasn't suitable for solo combat. Yelin grew frustrated as she walked off, saying that regretting now would be pointless and that following her wouldn't help his situation. She mistakenly assumed Ian was sticking close to her and claimed she no longer had the time to join up. I thought this woman might be a few thoughts short. As she looked back, she asked if he'd seen another person in the area, someone incredibly talented with fire manipulation, likely having mastered Hellfire. Hellfire? Yeah, I saw him. He was stunningly good-looking, went that way, he answered. Under his breath, he muttered that he couldn't let Juga latch onto him, so he resolved to stop using the Hellfire technique in front of others. As Juga continued onward, she blamed Ain for failing to find the Hellfire user. She glanced upward and spotted a shadow. It was a level 8 dragon blood brute. She swiftly dodged as it lunged at her, unable to believe such a high-level creature appeared here. Looking back, she assumed Ain had fled far already. She struck the beast with her fiery storm spell, but the damage was insufficient. The monster glared furiously and charged, ramming her and sending her flying. She retaliated with more flame attacks, but the creature rebounded the fire back at her. She was stunned as the blaze engulfed her. The monster remained unmoved, and she lay on the ground trembling, her clothes torn, overwhelmed by pain. She confessed to herself that her overconfidence in beating a level 8 beast in this realm was foolish and now feared dying a humiliating death. Fortunately, someone intervened and launched a Hellfire Forbidden curse, burning the monster to a crisp. Unsurprisingly, Juga was amazed, recognizing the same Hellfire from earlier. "So it was you who helped me, classmate. Thank you for saving my life. May I know your name?" she asked. Standing on a tree branch, masked Ain replied, "Just call me Ling. Ling like the morning light, E like the evening's end."